Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, everybody. It's Jay Tronius, and you are now Gabbin with the Guvna. That funky ass shit you just heard was by this brother here. So without further ado, brother, and what you about, Cat Daddy?
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Big Jay Tronius. That's
up?
my man right there. I'm the Bass Negus, Reggie Payne, you know. Of course, you can find me on social media at Reggie Payne Bass. But yeah, that's one of the songs off my debut solo album. Stank of the Now is the name of that song, but the album's called All Bass Creation. And yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you playing it, man. That's right there. I figured that'd be right up your alley. You being so funky yourself, my brother.
You already know, funkin' forever, Cat Daddy, and you know I'm deeply tied into Egypt, so that's why I played that one. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all about the power of Ra and whatnot, my dude. Well, first of all, welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here. You know what I'm saying? What's this big pretty monster you got in your hand, man? What's this thing you got in your hand? Does she got a name?
I mean, I don't really give her a name. I try not to get too attached to inanimate objects, but but this is my baby. I just call her my baby right here. This is my signature bass made with from Artisan Bass Works, and you got pretty much you got here is a 6-string bass with this is all Purple Heart, so nice, you know, exotic wood, and has a great texture to it. So you want to pick up one of these, find these at artisanbassworks.com. Yeah.
Nice. So we're gonna start this thing from the jump. Well, first of all, y'all, me and this talented ass brother met years ago back in Boston. This is our connection, and you know, and we got to play in music together a few times up there in Boston, and just really got to connect. And man, we've been vibing ever since, man. But for the rest of the world, man, tell us from the start. We're gonna start from the beginning. Tell us how you got into music. Walk us from the beginning up to now. Tell us your music journey.
So basically, I've been playing since I was 4. You know, I started off. My dad was a hobbyist musician, and you know, I grew up in church as well. You know, and to be honest, kind of sitting in churches when you're young is kind of boring. So the most exciting, you gotta go. So the only thing you could do is that's kind of exciting is do the music, you know, for a young kid, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of started out on drums and just progressed, you know, by the time I graduated from high school, I learned 11 different instruments.
11.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It wasn't really a thing. It wasn't as challenging as it sounds. Like it really was something I just wanted to do. And when you're a kid, you got that kind of time. Like it'd be difficult for me to learn that many instruments now, having a full family and 4 kids, you know. That'd be a lot now. But when you're a kid, you actually got that amount of time. You can sit down and learn 11 instruments if you felt like it, because you just have to learn techniques for each instrument.
Right.
You know, music don't change because you change instruments. So, you know, that's one of the benefits. It just helped me learn music from a more well-rounded perspective. So when I do like that I did on that album, I understand what the part's supposed to be or supposed to sound like, how it's supposed to fit. Even though it's all with my bass, I know that from the perspective of the instrument as well. You know, I know that from the perspective of a drummer or a pianist, organist, whatever it may be. So yeah, you know, and I did that, and I went to Duval High School, which I didn't want to go to. You know, it was just a regular high school. It just had a lot of problems, but ended up being the best thing for me. We ended up taking the choir on tour and stuff like that. You know, so we got to do a lot with that. Then from there, went to Bowie State on a full ride. Marched in the marching band, trombone, playing trombone, and played piano in the jazz band. I actually left that school because they didn't really want to. Some schools don't even view this as an instrument. Like,
Really?
yeah, some schools don't view electric bass as a real instrument. Like, you have to play upright. Like, they'll let you play electric too, but that's like on the side of playing upright. Upright got to be your main thing. You know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, they never used me to play bass in the jazz band and different things like that at Bowie State. So I left there and went up to Berklee because I knew Berklee at least respected my instrument. You know,
Right.
they respected it as a real, they got classes for electric bass and things like that. And that's where, you know, enter Big JT come on the scene. You know,
Sir.
we,
Yes, sir.
you know, it started out, man, just my roommates and stuff, you know, was taking me around meeting people. And you was definitely one of the people. They was like, yeah, we about to go here to hang out with Big JT. And them. It was always Big JT and them.
Big
It was
JT
never
and
like,
them. Shouts out to the Agari crew, because when they saying them, that's what he's saying, man. At the time, that was the Agari crew, the Agari crew house. Shouts out to my Agari crew fam. Yeah.
right. I mean, I learned a lot from a lot of y'all guys, man. Like, you know, I didn't really go to class at Berklee too much. I hung around the students and got the knowledge I needed, to be honest with you. You know, probably not the, I mean, if I was, I didn't, one thing I understood is I was going to work for myself. I never was going to be able to show this degree to anybody. So I wasn't concerned with getting a degree when I went to school. I was concerned with getting the knowledge. And that's all I cared about. Like, I knew people without degrees that was teaching at colleges, so I knew a degree don't mean much if you got the actual skill and experience.
Yeah.
So I knew, you know, I knew you could make it happen without that degree.
Dog, to me, that's called, you know, working smart. Not, you know what I'm saying? That's called working smart, man. Because, you know, I always tell people, man, I never regret going to Berklee. I never, ever regret it. But people tell me if I redid it, and I was like, I would have done what you've done, and I just would have lived up there. You know what I'm saying? I just would have lived up there and gained the knowledge, put my head around. You know what I'm saying? So that's, hey, I don't knock. I don't.
Listen, I was in school. I had the third highest scholarship. I had the
Oh, you were at Berklee then. Oh, okay. You did.
I was there. I just didn't go to class. Like, I just, and that's why I left too, because I didn't feel right occupying the third highest scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship.
Yeah.
And somebody else might be wanting to actually go to class. You know.
Well, yeah, that adds a different spin to it. But yeah, I dig it. But I respected that you knew that, man. Now tell me this. Out of all these damn instruments you started playing, what made you gravitate? Why did you gravitate towards the electric bass out of all of them the most?
Well, it's actually the last instrument I learned. I didn't actually start playing bass until like 10th grade in high school.
Yeah.
Like all my, I guess I played everything. It wasn't until I played bass that I really felt like I could be special on the one instrument, because I had gotten used to being special for playing multiple instruments. That's like what I was known for, and around the neighborhood and in school, all that stuff. But it was the first time I played an instrument, and I felt like I really could be the best at this. Just this. I don't even have to play nothing else, because I could be that good at this, you know. And I never felt like that about saxophone, clarinet, flute. Even I still play organ to this day, but I don't feel like I'm ever going to be the best organist or best pianist. You know, I always felt like like, yeah, I could be good at that, you know, but this instrument suits me, it suits how my mind thinks, you know. Like most people, bass and guitar instruments is a little confusing because you have the same note in different spots. So like the exact same C that's on this open string here is like a bunch of different places on the bass. And
Right.
so like that's something that you gotta keep. But my mind works like that. Like my mind, that works for me. For other people, that's confusing. So it's like what I found is certain people have an aptitude more for certain instruments because of, not because of their physical abilities, just because of how their mind works. It's not that they're slower or worse than anybody else at another instrument. It necessarily is that certain instruments, certain people have an aptitude for. It's just they click. Like Chris Daves and drums. Like, like you can't tell me Chris Daves and drums is not like the way he thinks matches how a drummer of his caliber would be. You see what I'm saying?
I know
So
exactly what you're saying, man. That's how I am with the vocals, man. Like a lot of people don't know that I can play piano, but you know, it's like, but you know me, man. I'm an orator, dog. I'm a storyteller. Like I'm the preacher. I'm the MC. So it's like I just naturally gravitate towards.
yeah,
I never did take time out like you as far as sitting down and playing the instruments, but I hear all of them. I hear all of them in my head when I'm writing and stuff like that. But I do feel that with some of us gravitate to one more than the other. It's just like with Prince. You know, Prince played all those instruments, but you always saw Prince with the guitar. You know, it's just like
yeah.
everybody has their thing, man. Now this bass, you know,
It's like you learn to run. If you, it's like if you never really, if Usain Bolt never ran track. You see, he could have been an incredible athlete at a bunch of stuff. You know, soccer. Probably could have been a great wide receiver. You
mm-hmm,
know, as fast and tall as he is, and you know, all types of stuff. But he understood that his main strength and the thing that he could be amazing at was running. You know, so I had to come to that realization too, because I didn't. It's not like I ever wanted to give up the other instruments per se. I actually had to sell them to go to Berklee. Like that's how I paid for to get myself and my car and my down payment for the apartment and all that stuff. I sold all my instruments,
wow,
and I made it up there. And actually, when I got up there, my apartment fell through. You know, and you know, Boston, they treacherous, boy. They get your spot away, boy.
yeah,
They'll get that thing away. So I'm living in a hotel for like a week,
oh
you
wow,
know, just burning through cash. Like, you know, and then I magically met my roommates were up at Berklee, you know, and that I magically met one of them in the financial aid office. He was just sitting there filling out a rental paper. I just happened to turn and start talking to him.
there
And
you
then
go,
bam, got a place to stay, you know, because his roommate fell out. He actually had a roommate at the time. He called me at like 2 in the morning, was like, yo, my roommate just backed out on us. You think you could? Yeah, hell, I need somewhere to stay. Because I
wow,
ain't going home. I already sold all my stuff, bro. I ain't going home.
right.
Like,
There's no looking back. There's no looking back. That's
right. I
crazy.
already sold all my stuff. I ain't gave up my full ride at Bowie. I had a full ride at Bowie, was getting money back each semester, but I wasn't learning nothing.
Right.
So I had to leave. Like I always understood that knowledge and skill would carry me more than a piece of paper saying I had knowledge or skill.
Facts.
You know
Facts.
what I'm saying? And it's not like it's not people with both. But for me, I was never going to work for nobody. That's never been my desire. So it was like, I've always worked for myself from the time I was 8. I've never filled out a job application or nothing for that reason. Like I wanted to go to school to Berklee because I knew it was guys like you there and all the other people I met. Like, and
Yeah.
y'all the ones that helped me get to that next level I was really struggling with at home. You
Yeah.
know, it was the students. So whenever y'all go to school, whoever listening, you know, whenever y'all go to school, and if it's some younger people, don't go to school. And that's I mean, the degrees are fine, but understand school is really for you to understand your craft and get the knowledge of it and the network. most importantly, that network, that Berklee network is amazing.
Priceless. Priceless. Priceless.
It's amazing.
You
Like,
know, some people will know about it, but some people won't never know. It's like a fraternity or damn near a
it
secret
is.
society, dog. Like I tell people that shit all the time. Like that Berklee network ain't nothing to fuck with, dog. It ain't nothing to fuck with.
Man, I went to a HBCU, my dude. Listen, the shit's so serious, right? I watch how fraternities and sororities work. At one point, I was going to pledge. I decided not to because I started learning too much in ways for me that I didn't want to get into. So I was cool with that. But then when I went to Berklee, they was like, I was like, y'all ain't had no fraternities or nothing like that. They was like, nah, we don't do all that.
No.
And then come to find out, they do that. It's just the whole entire school. So nobody's really excluded from the school. You know, everybody, if you went to Berklee, you could just say I went to Berklee, and if you could line up some people, that's how we do our fact checking. We gotta line up people somewhere. If we don't know somebody common somewhere,
we
feel
know
like
somebody that do. We know somebody that do. And that's what I tell people in this game now. What I feel like that is the strongest thing that Berklee gave us is that network and that competitive spirit. If you was about that action, you know.
Yep.
And so we got you into Berklee. All right, you leave Berklee. What happens with you and your music after you leave Berklee?
So I went home, went back to D.C. And decided that I was going, you know, Chuck Brown was like the biggest, the Godfather, we call him the Godfather of go-go. So like, he was like the biggest figure in DC. And right as I came home, he had passed away. So it was like, it still is, it's a big void in DC. So one of the things I wanted to do was fill that void, you know, and give DC another type of figure like that, as well as, you know, I wanted to do things bigger than he did as well, you know. But you know, some of the things he was able to accomplish, mind you, he's not even from DC, he's from North Carolina.
Yeah.
But moved up to DC, you know, came to Godfather, go all that good stuff. So I'm trying to basically come home and get my music career started a band, you know, and just started working really. And that's where I started Tribe Inc. Reggie Payne and Tribe Inc. did that whole deal, you know, and I still do that. And then from there, I added a solo career to it, you know. My thing has always been to add product, you know, add some services or product to my lineup so I can make more money.
Yeah.
If it's all right, if somebody calls me for a gig, they can't afford a full band, that's fine. What you got? Can you afford a solo musician? Okay, I'll come make it feel like a full band. And it's not like I'm just gonna use some generic backing tracks and, like, you know, this ain't about to be karaoke hour either. Like, that's one of the things you learn at Berklee, how not to get that karaoke feel. Just, even if you're playing by yourself, you learn how to perform.
That goofy karaoke version is always the worst, man. no disrespect to whoever's out there trying to help, but god dang, man, step y'all groove up, man. Them damn karaoke tracks be just no.
Yeah, I already understand. Like with the solo artists, you get some really good ones, but then you got some that are very boring. And like, even now, I try to be conscious because I went to Berklee and seeing how people perform and how it's supposed to be put together. And then I seen a lot of my guys doing stuff afterwards as well, after school. And so, you know, you learn how to perform, you start being conscious of stuff. You know, stuff you weren't conscious before. You know, when you're a musician, sometimes you'll just get your head down, you ain't paying the audience no mind. You know, so, you know, I started learning how to perform more, and it started being more of an interest to people. And I started, you know, doing more solo performances all around the DC area, and, you know, outside of DC area too, you know, periodically. But, you know, that's one of the things I want to do this year is do a solo tour. You know, one, it's more cost effective as a musician. I'm already a solo artist, and it's just, I just think it'd be cool to, you know, kind of travel the country a little bit, just me and my bass. You know?
Can do it. If anybody I know can do it, you can do it, Cat Daddy. You know, I've witnessed a lot with you, man, and that brings us into your the current album that you do have out. Tell us about All Bass Creations. Tell us about that.
So that's the album where I pretty much I did the entire album just my bass and effects pedal, no MIDI, so no MIDI, no keyboard, no backing tracks, none of that. Everything you hear on that album is a bass guitar, whether it sounds like it or not. It just
even the
has
drums, even the drums,
drums, pads, key. It sounds like an organ. It's still bass. Everything is bass on that. Guitar sounds, all bass. You know, and that's one thing I wasn't really too concerned about with playing a natural bass sound on there. I got one track where I use my natural bass sound, but the rest of the tracks, I wasn't really. I made it the bass do more synth type work on the bass end, you know, so it's more like synth bass type lines and things like that. And I did all that for a reason. I wanted to show the flexibility of the sound of a bass, you know, that I felt like others hadn't shown before on the effects side. A lot of bass players don't use too many effects, you know, not in the manner I use them, where you're changing it completely all the way to a guitar sound, like you know, you're trying to get close to Jimi Hendrix sound, or you're trying to get this organ sound, you know. They're not really trying to do that. They just trying to put a little effect on the bass sound, but I wanted to see how far I could stretch the sound. And so that's a product of me doing that, along with the writing on this album. You know, the compositions, I wanted the compositions to be challenging for other musicians and at the same time fun for them to play. You know, like Stank of the Nile is a real funky tune, could easily be a jam session tune, but it's still slightly challenging enough where, you know, us pros, if we go jam on it, we're not gonna be bored on it. You know, I don't want to just play something boring when I'm jamming with my friends or whatever the case. So, you know, I decided to create some new standards.
You don't want to be the 145 king, huh? You don't want to stay.
Right, I ain't trying. This ain't about to be contemporary gospel hour over here. Nah, we're not about to do that. We're about to keep it funky.
Dude, but yeah, man, and I've listened to this album, y'all gotta check that album out, man. All Bass Creations, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a fly album, dog. I vibe to it, I smoke to it, you know what I'm saying? Like I love what you did, man. I look forward to hearing your new project. I also have to put this shameless plug in for y'all. I'm coming out with an album soon under you know, under a very prestigious label out in London called BBE Music, and
yeah,
the single we're putting out, my dude right here played the bass. And let me tell y'all something, man. When we was putting this track together, even before I put my vocals on, I reached out to you, man. And I'll never forget. I told you this story off of here, but like for the rest of the world, like when this brother sent me back what he did, and then you know, first he gave me the root, he gave me the groove, and I was like, cool. Now go out on me, because everybody knows Tronius loves the groove, but Tronius likes to take the rocket boosters and go out of space on it, because not many people get to go out of space. You understand? They don't got the skills. So I was like, when you got the skills, we got to hit that. We got to go. And when I tell y'all, man, when between Reggie putting down what he put down and the way that Maverick chopped that shit up, dog, I lost my mind, bro. Is this the bass that you use for that? That's my question.
Yeah, this is the bass I use for everything. To be honest with you, this is the only bass I play. Like I'm not one of those players that be having like 50 basses, because one, this bass, it's like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, you know, I guess when you get an instrument that you like and you really love, like, and it fits you, it's like some pianists only play Steinways.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I only play this bass. Okay. So everything, you know, this is the bass I use, and I use my normal pedal board setup, which is pretty extensive. But yeah, man, and it was a great track to begin with, man. It was my pleasure. And I always tell you, like, yeah, yeah, you called me to work on it, but I appreciate, you know, you giving me that opportunity because it was a fly track to begin with, and I felt like it was gonna go somewhere anyway, whether I was doing it or not. So I was like, let me hop on this thing.
All I'm
It's
gonna
gonna be a
say,
hot track.
I'm gonna talk the shit for you. All you other bass players, when y'all hear this shit, it's gonna make you sit your ass down and be like, "What the hell did that nigga?" Because y'all gonna think he's playing synth bass, but that nigga playing that bass. And let me tell you, y'all better watch out. Y'all better watch out. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna leave it at that. Now,
Oh, we ain't letting up. We ain't letting up. So, you know, we love to smoke. When it comes to playing, Reggie don't back down. The Bass Negus don't back down from no smoke right there. So I'll put that on camera right there.
yeah,
I love cutting sessions.
yeah, man. You
I
know,
love competition.
so tell me, who are some people that you got to play with so far that you're proud of, that you know, on your resume? Who with you definitely doing your own thing, but who are some other artists that you got to play with, and who are some artists you would like to play with?
Well, just a few people I play with. One person I always name that people don't really know, but they know his work, is a guy named Berklee, and he's actually a gospel composer. He did Order My Steps and a few songs like that, and he actually created some of the more standards before, like even Richard Smallwood did, you know. So I always name him just to give him a shout out because he was amazing to work with and super talented in terms of his ability put everything together. As even with an orchestra, like we were working with an orchestra, and I was playing bass, and we had I believe Morgan Turner was there too. Yeah, Morgan Turner was there too that year. But yeah, he's one guy. Also worked with Melba Moore, who is a older school R&B singer as well as she's on Broadway. And I was a music director for her, and I've also played for Warren Wolf, who's a friend of mine out Baltimore, another Berklee connection. And that story's funny too, like because I met him at a residency, jazz residency up in Delaware.
Yeah.
Even though he lived 45 minutes up the road, we had to meet up in Delaware, and he went to Berklee, but just a little bit before me. So you know, and that's what we was talking about before. You know, you get to talking to people, and it's not like we just bring up Berklee all the time. It's just most times when you meet people after you talk for a while, they ask you where you went to school. And then when they find that out, as soon as he found that out, and then he realized that I could play, and he was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna call you. You know, and you know, a lot of people, and to be honest with you, in terms of working like that, that's really worked out for me a lot. You know, you just talk to people, and once they see what you can do, you know, you'll find a connection. You know, nothing needs to be forced. That's a lesson right there. Don't try to force no connections or nothing like that. And the rest of my career, I've pretty much been a solo artist or had my band, and that's been my main focus. Like, I guess like you really do attract what you want in the universe. Like, people don't understand. Like, if your desire is not to be in the background and working for somebody, not that I mind, because I played for a ton of bands and stuff like that, and you know, wedding bands, GV stuff, you know. But you know, when your desire is to be the artist yourself, if you got a vision, you don't really spend time trying to, you know, participate in other people's vision. Like, you know, especially if they're not gonna feed back into yours. Like you'll play for all these artists and you'll just get a check, and then your name never actually gets out there, other than a few people saying, "Oh yeah, you played for such and such." You know, but my mind,
The Berklee trap. That's what I call that. I call that the Berklee trap. But I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, that definitely sounds. You know, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But for those that want to get their voice heard, don't get caught up in the Berklee trap. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, I mean, that's the hometown trap too. You know, because a lot of the hometown guys wish they see other people on tour doing this, and they want to be in those spots too. But why are you trying to be on somebody's roster when you can create your own? Like, why be on a team when you could be an owner of a team? Like, I don't understand that mindset. One of the biggest things about being a musician is that you are self-employed, meaning you're already a business owner. But your business, you don't want to actually throw your music out there. A lot of times, I know it's much more difficult path. Yeah, it's difficult to be an artist, and it's difficult to find work and you got to try to find management, try to find, I found some of these places like hotels and restaurants and things like that, they pay solo artists. Like, and they actually pay us pretty good, If you making $150 an hour just to play for, just to set up and play some solo tunes, you're gonna do that in your house. Let's just be real. How many times you see me on my practice sessions just sitting there play for an hour?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when you go out. It's just finding the work. So, don't be afraid to go out and find your own work. Don't sit around like, even now, a lot of those same people that was pressed to always play for people, never established their own thing. They having a real hard time right now because ain't no touring. Ain't no bar gigs. Ain't no nothing. So it's like now you're forced to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real. It's real. It's real. The game is definitely in a chokehold right now. You got to adjust to what's going on, man. Now, Bass Negus, as you say. Where did that come from? How did you title yourself the Bass Negus?
Well, I didn't want to just call myself the Bass Emperor. that didn't sound. I mean, I wanted. Well, Negus is a. I'm not gonna say a sacred term, but it's something that us people of color understand. I ain't gonna go into too much detail about that, but it's a word that we should understand. So, like, but basically it means emperor,
So you won't call yourself the emperor, you just doing it smooth away.
Yeah, and of course my name Reginald means king or ruler over kings, something similar to that.
Yeah.
So I'm rolling with that. I was named it already. So what I did was just add bass to it. And instead of saying, Bass Reginald or Bass King, I was like, let me use a word that also expresses something from my people as well. And some people was like, some people may not like it. It's like, I don't care.
It's got to resonate with you, man. If that's the number one. If it resonates with you, I love it, man. Cause I'm bold in a motherfucker. So that's a bold name. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I walk around, I walk around telling everybody I'm the governor of the galaxy, and I firmly believe it. And I dare you to Google it and see if you see anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what that's about. That's what. All right, so this we got that. Now, quick little side note, man. You make electronic bikes.
Yeah.
Give us a quick little brief, man. This brother here, he always, since I met him, he's been talking about bikes. First, it started with regular bikes. How he liked his regular bikes back in Boston, and now as we move on to years later, he's got these electronic bikes that are off the chain, man. Tell us about those real quick.
Yeah, so basically, I am the owner of Supernova electric bikes, or Supernova e-bikes is where you can find it if you want to just find us on social media. We build bikes basically that are meant to be faster than the ones that are usually on the market, basically. So you can use them as dirt bikes, you can use them to commute. You can also, if you desire to, not that you have to, because they're bikes technically, you don't have to register them or have a license. But you can, if you want to ride on the road and ride faster on the road legally, you can get them registered as electric mopeds or electric motorcycles. But yeah, they range from, my slowest bike is about top speed is about 40 miles per hour. And on the top end of my models, you'll find yourself at about 75, 80 miles per hour. You know, so, and they all have good range. You know, you can, it depends with electric bikes, it all depends on the weather and your weight and everything else, a bunch of factors that go into range, how long your battery will go. But on my big bike, or the bike I ride all the time, which is the 72 volt, 8,000 watt, which is way bigger than what people are selling for $10,000, you know, in terms of a motor and battery. That I get a range of about 60 to 100 miles, usually around 80.
Wow.
So, you know, you can all, with no maintenance to the motors, like the whole motor's in the wheel. And only thing you have to do is take that wheel to a bike shop, ask them to true it every, you know, 1,000 miles, and that's about $20. And that just means that all that is keeping the wheel circular and straight so it doesn't get bent, and keeping the spokes tight. And they'll do all of that. And that costs you $20 for every 1,000 miles. You know, it only costs you about $1 for every 1,000 miles to charge it in your house or wherever you charge it. You can charge it while you're at work. You know, you can bring them in your apartment. You can use them for everything. Dirt bike, as a bike. You can go on bike trails. You can also just use it as like a moped type thing. So you need to get to work cheaper. You don't want to be on the metro. You know, my bike started at $2,500 right now because I'm running a sale on everything. So all my bikes are $1,000 off right now. So you can find us at Supernova e-bikes, at Supernova e-bikes, or my number is 240-478-8194. And everything's all my bikes over 3,500 are 1,000 off. So now they're starting at 2,500, and you can get a top of the line bike for 4,000.
So you saying that's the Rona discount? Is that what that is? Is that the Rona special?
No, that's just because right now I understand people want to get off the trains, and everybody can't afford a lot of money right now. So I'm trying to get them down, the price down to a point where as many people as possible could benefit from it. You know, I'm running a sale, right? You know, so I also want to move more bikes. I want you guys on these bikes. Like, I'm not one of these companies that just wants your money. I want more people on bikes. Like, it's better for your health. It's better for the environment. And you're talking about no maintenance, like, low maintenance, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because you still have little things you got to do. It is a bike, you know, still got to change tires every once in a while, or inner tube, and brake pads, little things like that. But everything else, for the most part, every day, all you got to do is charge the bike and then ride it.
So this, I've seen these bikes, y'all, and they're really unique, man. They're really fly to me. So let me get an understanding. Are you building these things from the ground up?
Yes, I get the parts manufactured, and then I get all the parts in based on your customizations or things that you want, and I build them up, and then I ship them out. And I also do customizations to them, including things like LED lights, colored LED lights, as well as motorcycle speakers, mirrors, headlight, turn signals, and brake light, things like that. So you can get it completely tricked out, you know. And in terms of security on it, you have a key, and then you also can have a password on the display, as well as there's an optional alarm to basically that's ridiculously loud, and it pretty much hurts your ears once it's going off. So, you know, it's loud enough where most thieves are not going to fool with your bike if your alarm is that loud going off and everything else. And on top of that, you can always, if you need one more measure, you can always just buy a U-lock and add it up. So now you got 3 to 4 measures of security on your bike, leaving it outside if it's locked up. But most times, you know, people are not trying to steal a bike like this. They want to, they just don't know how. Like they know once I get it, what am I supposed to do with it? So, you know, The added security measures are enough to deter them. Like, I clearly don't know what I'm doing. You know, alarms going on. You know, I can't turn it on. Like, I can't, and it's heavy. You know, they weigh about 110 to 125 pounds. So most people are not just picking that up, running off with it either. You know, so that kind of makes a difference, man, when you go in, you know, 60 plus miles an hour as well. That extra weight, you know, some people say that's heavy for an electric bike, but when you're going that fast, you need the weight. It's still not, it's giving you the performance of a 200 to 300 pound motorcycle. So you got to expect that it's going to be heavier for a bike, but it's not it's about half the weight of a motorcycle. So, you know, it depends on what you want. Or a dirt bike. Dirt bikes aren't light. So, you know, you can't really, so it's like a whole new territory. And if you are into dirt bikes, now you can get something that's half the weight of that and rechargeable without the oil changes and spark plugs and all the usual problems you run into just running a gas motor. You know, even bringing it in your house. Like if you live in the city and you have an apartment, you can bring this in your house like a regular bike. There's no fumes or none of that stuff. You know, there's the same width as a regular bike. You know, the handlebars are no wider than a regular bike, so it's pretty compact for what it is as well. So wouldn't even take up a bunch of space in your house. The same amount of space a regular bike would take up. So
well, y'all heard it, man. Y'all heard the brother talk about it, man. The Supernova e-bike, man. Y'all better get familiar and go check that out. At the end of the day, when I'm listening to you talk, man, I'm correlating, man. This brother is the king of customization when it comes to electric bass and electric bikes. This is your dude to get to, man. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to wrap this thing up because me and you, we could go all day, man. We know this about each other. I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody on this interview. At the end of the day, bro, when it's all said and done, when it's time to fly on, what is your legacy? What is the Reginald Payne legacy? What do you want to leave behind on this earth?
Well, first off, my biggest legacy is my kids, and making sure that they have what they need so they can live their dreams as soon as they're ready to. I don't want them to have to do like I did. I had to, you know, I'm having to find financing and start other businesses to support my music. Because yes, I do love bikes, but music is always my first love, you know. So even money I'm making from selling bikes is going to go back into my music.
Yeah.
Because this is my first love, and it's never going to stop, you know, until I reach, you know, until I accomplish the things I want to accomplish. So, like, yes, first the kids, and then the businesses which will support the kids, i.e. making sure that my music has enough power in the buying market and everything else that it leaves royalties for my kids. You know, making sure that my electric bike business grows big enough for my kids to, you know, have a legacy to live from. You know, even if they don't join the business, they'll receive money from it or whatever the case. You know, I have tons of things set up for them because, to be honest, I already understand that I've reached a level, I understand things that my parents didn't understand. And I'm sure that my kids, I'm hoping they'll be at a level where they understand things that I didn't understand at one point. So even the money that they have that I've spent my life accumulating for them, they'll be able to take that and do something even greater with it than I was able to do. And that's how I'm raising them. And I expect them to be better than me. Like, that's my legacy, that they will be better than me, and I will leave my music and everything else for the rest of the world. But mostly that what I'm for the world will feed my kids. So that's my biggest legacy I'm working on, my plan, I guess if you want to call it. So
my dude,
yeah, man.
My dude, man. I tell you what, Mr. Payne, you know, we built a good friendship, a musical bond, a personal friendship bond. You are an amazing being, and I'm glad you came here on the show so I could you know, show you to the world through my network and through my visuals. You know, I always say parallel pimping to paradise. That's what this is all about.
I appreciate you, my brother, having me, man. I wouldn't have said no ever. Like, it was never even a question. As soon as you asked me, I was like, oh yeah, what time you need me? All right, we'll make time. We'll make time because you my boy, man, and each of me guys that I rock with like that, you know, in terms of just making sure I call and check up and making sure they good. And you definitely one of my boys, and you make sure you call and check up on me and everything else. You know, a lot of times as guys, females tend to do that. You know, guys, we tend to be like, we don't need all that. Yeah, you do. You do. You need to know your boys care about you. You know, it ain't gay or nothing crazy. You know, nothing wrong with being gay, but, you know, it's nothing, you know, it's not necessarily a sexual thing. It's more of a brotherhood thing. It's the same way, you know, I call and check up on my brothers and sisters, my biological brothers and sisters, you know. It's the same thing. I consider you one of my brothers, so I should call and check up on you.
I call you a part of what I call my soul tribe. That's what I call my soul tribe. The cats that we all have similar interests and similar visions, and we come together because it takes a movement to move it. The teamwork makes the dream work, dog, and we always been about that. So everybody, this is Reginald Payne, aka Bass Negus, aka CEO of Supernova e-bikes. Man, y'all keep y'all eyes and ears open to this brother because he's out there. I co-signed him 100. Make sure you go listen to his recent album, All Bass Creations. Get ready to hear the single, my single coming out, me and Maverick, Sons of the Sun. You know, we got the Jam Water Dreaming coming out. You know, you know, watch out, y'all. We coming, man. And my dude right here is one of the funkiest bass players I know in the world. So y'all better get hip. Stay tuned. Infinite blessings, everybody. We're out of here.
Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.